Look at all the people and the vehicles that's here. Man, let me run over here real quick. I gotta stop by the Camel parking lot here real quick. Let me go over here real quick. Man, look, I don't believe the people. There's more here than I don't know when. Hey guys, we got enough scoopers here, right? Yeah, I mean, there's buses and trucks and cars and camels and horses and rickshaws. Where's all these people coming from? Really? Uh-huh. Look out. They heard Harry was here. Ah, I got you. They heard Harry was here. All right. Well, I got to walk over here. I got to get in there quick because, man. I mean, we always have a big crowd here at the Funny Farm. They come airplanes and all kind of ways to get here, but they're really coming. Excuse me. Excuse me. Try to go through this way. Might not be such a good idea. Let me squeeze. Can I squeeze through there? Okay, thank you. Yeah. Yes, I know I know Harry's coming. Yes, Harry from Ireland. The Swinging Sixties guy. Right. Look, I got to get back there with Charlie into the booth and get this thing going here. Excuse me. What? Yeah, right. Okay. I'll tell him. I'll tell him. All right. Everybody wants me to tell Harry stuff. What in the world? Let me duck around the corner and see if I can go around the back way. I'll never get through here. Man, Harry's causing a commotion here for sure. Let me get around the side here. Oh. Noisy outside, noisy inside. Let me get down this hallway. There. Okay. Ooh, man. All right. Okay. Man. Charlie, are you in there? Come. Man, the door's locked. Now, let me put this stuff down. I get. Yeah, get the key. Charlie. No Charlie. Where is Charlie? Charlie is not here. Now I got to do everything myself. Oh, I bet I know where he's at. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll bet I know where he's at. Oh. All right, let me get this stuff set up. All right. Let's see. Get this up here. I put this over here. All right, I think I'm ready. Oh, you wait till I see Charlie. Oh boy. Oh, Harry, he can cause an uproar, I'm telling you. Wow. I mean, it's a good thing. But wow, everybody is excited because Harry Burke is here at the Funny Farm.
are listening to, I say you are listening to, you are absolutely listening to the George Espinlove Show, coming to you live from the Funny Farm. Now, with no further ado, here comes Georgie!
Thank you very much. Thank you. I thank you. All right. Hey, it's a good thing I had that of Charlie, because I didn't have the real Charlie in there. Somebody know where he... Never mind. I got you. Oh, boy. What a crowd we have inside. I mean, they are stuffed in here like sardines, and they are outside, piled up on top of one another. They almost look like cordwood stacked up out there, and they're still coming. Can you imagine they're still coming in here? What a time we are going to have tonight. Yeah. Right. Okay. All right. The sooner you get done cheering, the sooner we can get Harry here. If you stop cheering, Harry will come. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. To our friends down the street, around the corner, across this great nation, and around the world, I welcome you to the George Espinlove Show that comes to you live Monday through Friday, right here from the Funny Farm in a place called Our World. We don't know where our world is. We can't point to it specifically on any map. If we get lost in the real world, we can't give you an address to our world because we don't have one. We don't have a mailbox either. But we do have an email. And so I would encourage you, regardless of where you're at, down the street, around the corner, across this great nation, or somewhere around this great big world, email me, George C.E. at Comcast.net. George C.E. at Comcast.net. Well, I'm telling you, we have more people here than you can shake a stick at. And it's all because Mr. Harry B. from Ireland is with us tonight. Everybody wants to see Harry. Everybody wants to hear from Harry. Even me. Oh boy. Now let me set the stage for you before we go any further. This is how it all went down. Because of the time difference, there's 5 hours time difference between where Harry is in Ireland and where I'm at here in the States, which means that it is 11:40 at Harry's house. It's 6:40 here in the studio. So, Harry just got done with his show, probably somewhere around 11 o'clock his time, 6 o'clock our time. And after he does the show, he takes a little walk. He walks his dog, and then he goes nighty-night. So Harry is probably either just climbed in his bed with his blankie, or he's getting ready to crawl in bed with his blankie and get a good night's sleep. So, this is what happened. When Harry said that he would be so gracious to come on this show, we decided that since Harry needs his rest, because Harry is a busy man. Harry is a very important, busy man. We decided that we would do the show, do Harry's part of the show, by the way of Skype earlier in my afternoon, early in his evening. So about 1 o'clock this afternoon, Eastern Daylight Time, and about 6 p.m., 6 p.m. Harry's time, at Harry's house, we did Harry's part for the show tonight. And it was a goodie. You'll notice as we move along in Harry's house with Harry that Harry has trouble with his microphone. But Harry fights on. And he fights on. And he fights with that microphone, and it tries to kick him off, and it tries to break him up. And eventually, it does. And right about this point, before I go any further, I think we should have some of that, what's it called? Rockabilly music. Yeah. Hold on, I'll be back. right, that's some of that rockabilly music. Oh man, I'm telling you what, Thursday night, I just feel so good on the inside. I don't look that good on the outside, but I sure do feel good on the inside. Would you please email me tonight? George C.E., that's George C.E. Stop it, Charlie. I'm glad you could make it. George C.E. at Comcast.net. George C.E. at Comcast.net. Yes, Charlie. I know. Yes, he's coming. He's coming. Cool your wool, man. Be okay. Man, Charlie's over there. Charlie, don't do Somebody better go get Travis and tell him to get the mop because Charlie got so excited. Well, you know what Charlie does when he gets excited. All right. Everybody's been waiting for Harry. They want to hear Harry. So, Charlie jumping up and down. The people's jumping up and down. All right. You've got to give it up for Harry because here comes Mr. Harry Burke from Ireland. Give it up for him. Yeah. Give him some of that intro music too, Charlie. Okay, Charlie, okay. All right, yeah. Down. Attaboy, Charlie, attaboy. Oh, boy. All right. What and who everyone has been waiting for, my friend and everybody's friend, Mr. Harry B. from Ireland. Harry, welcome to the George Espinlaub Show.
It's a privilege, George, to be on your show.
It's an honor to have you, buddy. We have we've chatted many times in your chat room, which I can honestly say is hilarious. And we've corresponded by Facebook, et cetera. But tonight, we're actually conversing by the way of Skype, and I think that's just fantastic.
It is a fantastic medium, to be fair. I feel it's a little bit, there's a program on television over the last 30 years called This Is Your Life. I don't know if they have the equivalent in America, but they kind of surprise somebody and they talk about their life. And I feel a little bit like I'm the contestant in that show and you're the interviewer.
All right, Harry B., this is your life. How's that?
This is my life.
Ladies and gentlemen, you hear me talk about Mr. Harry B. from Ireland over and over again. Harry produces and he hosts the Swinging Sixties Show. And Harry, I must tell you, you put together a fine show. I don't know who writes this stuff, but you got it going on, my friend.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, George. I just do it mainly as a hobby, but I have met a few interesting people, shall I say, through the show, and it's for the good because that's my initial reason for doing it. It's more or less to kind of meet other people. I live in a small town of about 150,000 people, which in the scheme of things is not a big place. But sometimes you just got to go beyond the old comfort zone and meet other people. And it's a strange medium being on the internet, but still, there's a few weird people about. I'm glad to see, and you're one of them.
Oh, that's one of the highest compliments that I've ever received, and I really appreciate that. And coming from you, that is an honor.
One weirdo meets another weirdo.
Yeah, I often tell you, Harry, that we have your room all ready here at the Funny Farm. We'll escort you through the gates. We'll get the Funny Farm marching band. Of course, they march backwards, but we'll get them to play and the drum corps to play.
Know what the professionals say, George? I'll get my people to talk about to your people, and we'll have a meeting. I would rather climb over the wall and do it all by myself.
All right, we can arrange that too. We just won't look. You climb over the wall, and we'll act like you just snuck in or something.
Well, I'll probably sleep there for a week before I pull the blankets back and show myself, okay?
Okay, that'll work. Anything you want to do. I just want you to know that you are welcome here, and you will fit in.
Yeah, I have a funny feeling I will. I really do have a funny feeling I will.
Hey, Harry, let's talk about this modern technology stuff. Isn't it?
Okay.
Isn't it pretty neat?
It's pretty good. I've been on the internet possibly, well, for the last 15, 20 years. And it's really this last 5 or 10 years that's kind of zoomed ahead. And because there was a time way back you could hardly make up a note by odd letters, 2,000 characters or whatever, and put it on a little file. Now you can talk to the world, and the sound quality, the video quality, it's all there. It's all very instant. And it's like the Spreaker. It's like putting out the music and chatting to people. It's so instant, and which suits me fine, because I'm the kind of guy that just says anything and anything in my head. I don't like to concentrate too much on what I'm about to say, because that spoils it for me.
I found out, Harry, that if I concentrate on what I want to say, it don't come out right. I always screw it up somehow. That's it. Yeah.
And even during my little show, there's times I don't like recording it back too much, but I do sometimes. And the times where I get a little bit tongue-tied is when I slow down to a point where I'm actually thinking, what am I going to say in the next 2 minutes? And my tongue and my brain doesn't work together, and I'm falling over myself. So the best way I do it is just go for it, go for the juggling, just rabble, and it seems to work out okay.
You know, although you're over there in Ireland and I'm over here in the States, we must have been cut from the same mold, because I tell our listeners just about every night, there I go, trying to think and talk at the same time. I can't do both.
No.
I just like to fire from the hip.
Yeah, it's a man's thing, you see. Women tend to be able to do 5 things at the once. Men just seem to be able to do 1 and maybe 1.5. Do you follow me?
I got you. This modern technology now, like our friend Graham Forster over there in Parma, Italy.
Yeah.
What's he say? I'm an English guy living in Parma, Italy.
Yeah, that's true.
I had Graham on. I think it was like right before Christmas.
I played it back. It was a good show. I enjoyed it. He's a good lad, is Graham. Yeah.
Yeah, and he that was the first overseas interview that we had done. Since then, I think it was last week, I interviewed a fellow down or over in Morocco. He's a Canadian fellow by the name of Cliff Stevenson, who is a blues rock player, guitarist, and we spoke from Morocco. Now we're speaking to you from Ireland. This modern technology just literally blows me away. To think,
yes, it really is good. But you don't hear me out of breath, do you, George? Because the technology in my side is maybe not as good as your side, because I'm actually pedaling a bike to get the power into the computer.
I just got off of mine, and what I did was I pedaled extra hard and extra long so I could fill the battery up real good.
Yeah, the secret is to turn the lights off. You don't need to waste the battery on the lights. Just pedal like hell, and the communication will be fine.
Harry, I still need to find out who writes this stuff. You know what I mean?
I've no idea at all, completely.
Tell me something about Ireland.
Well, to be honest, George, you'd need a few hours of that, but I could condense it into perhaps a little bit of a synopsis of what you may not know or you may know. Ireland itself goes back to about the 6th century, okay? Now, I know in America you don't have that kind of history. Yours goes back about 200 odd years. Ours goes back to way back. Now, the city where I am sitting in, Derry, some people call it Londonderry, and I'll explain that in a minute. But Derry was one of the first city settlements in Ireland. But before it was a city, it was just a ramshacked wilderness, if you like. But it goes back to about the 6th century when there was a holy man called St. Column. Column killed, they would call him. He would go to Scotland eventually. But he he lived about 30 or 40 miles from where I'm sitting, and he's well known throughout the world, especially towards the Irish community. But he dwelled a little bit of a time there in the 6th century, and outside of Derry. It was a different kind of sounding name, Irish, of course. And not many people assume that people here speak Irish. There's only really down in the southwest corner of Ireland, around Galway in Ireland, which is about 200, 300 miles from me, that concentrate on Irish language. The rest of the island, certainly in the north of Ireland, most people speak English. There's a few people that do speak Irish as a matter of token against their background, etc., where they've grown up, but mostly people speak an English tongue. Now, Derry itself went through some turbulent times way back in the 1400s and whatever. They used to have clans and chieftains, the O'Neills and the Donnellys, and all these people would fight with each other to try and claim a bit of land and make it theirs. And as I say, they were known as chiefs. Now, the biggie, as far as my city was concerned, was in the 17th century, around 1613. The city itself was built, and it was built with a wall around the city that stood upwards of about 35 feet off the ground and about, let's say, about 30 feet wide. And that will circle the city as it is today. And it was a walled city. And it's actually the only walled city in existence in Europe that hasn't been breached. Now, the reason why I say breached is that it has been defended. There's 4 gates, north, south, east, and west, going into that city through those walls. But taking you back to 1688, it was a kind of a Catholic thing. There was James II Army who tried to come over and take over the city, and the troops were outside the wall. The people were inside for something like over a month, and they lived in rats and all sorts of vermin just to survive. We're only talking about maybe 200 families within Derry city itself at that particular time. But then came along a guy called William of Orange, who came out of Holland. William of Orange, he came up the river, which is close by the walls, and he eventually got through and, if you like, allowed the people inside to survive. And the James II Army, which was a Catholic army, were defeated. Now, I tell you that for a reason, George, because over the last 200-300 years, there's a thing called the Apprentice Boys, which recognizes their Protestantism, if you like, from those days. And each year, and it's always a contention because of late, there hasn't been any trouble. For I don't know, 30 years there, it is a major contention within the city because the city itself is a nationalist Catholic city, and the Protestants now are a minority, but they have maybe 500 types of bandsmen, from pipers to flutes, and they would recognize this particular time way back in 68. And that's because it's a friction thing. They're trying to turn it into a day of celebration and fun, but there's an underlying current over here between Catholics and Protestants. The Protestants call it Londonderry, and the Catholics call it Derry. The reason for it is way back in the 17th century, just after that siege time, London, the Honourable Irish Society, which came out of London, a lot of businesses in London came over to Ireland and put a lot of money into Londonderry. They called it Londonderry, and the town seemed to prosper throughout a fair number of hundreds of years. But that's the way it is now. I don't know if I'm baffling you with this, and maybe you want me to shut up on this, but the truth of the matter is that was the history regarding then. 2 things have happened, George. Way back around 1845, which is, you might have heard of the potato famine in Ireland. It brought with it a lot of fever and famine and cholera and scurvy and all those people and all those diseases. And it was rife in Europe, bad potatoes, but in Ireland, people had their basic diet of eating potatoes. because of the famine and because of the bad potatoes and the disease, about 1 million people in Ireland died as a result of bad potatoes. Mm-hmm. And as a result, 2 million people actually emigrated to other countries, including your good selves, the US of A. They went to all over the place to escape the famine. So that was one of the biggies on the history of it. And of course, my town or my city of Derry, I won't bother calling it Londonderry, you'll know what I mean. Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem calling it Derry. But there's a port in Derry, not now, but then it was the main departure point for people who wanted to escape over the next 10 years past that famine. They all went to the North Americas. New Hampshire in the US of A actually has a place called Derry, Londonderry. And I notice on the internet sometimes when I check it out, they have the same problems as us because it was founded by people who left our city to go to New Hampshire, and they still fight over there. Sorry, George, I went on there a little bit, but that was, I could talk, there's such a history to our city, and to be honest, you couldn't really put it in a half-hour program. You'd need to be, it's such a diverse subject, you know.
That's interesting. When what did you say? 2 million people left the city or left the country?
No, it didn't leave our city. It left the whole of Ireland.
Left the whole of Ireland.
Whole of Ireland at that particular time.
Did that many people eventually come back?
Always.
You're breaking up a little bit, Harry.
Can you hear me?
You're coming in and out.
Hear me now?
I can.
Hello, George. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. I can't hear you now.
Okay, hold on. Can you hear me? Blah, blah, blah.
I can hear you now. And I can't hear you now.
Hear me, okay. What was your last question?
The 2 million people that had left Ireland, did they eventually come back, or I mean, was that they just stayed away? We are having technical problems, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
Mr. B is getting his microphone under control. He is working on it. And if you just tuned in, we have Mr. Harry B from Ireland with us tonight. And Harry produces and hosts the Swinging Sixties Show that comes to you every single night at 9 p.m. his time, which would be 4 p.m. here on the East Coast and 1 p.m. on the West Coast. And he puts together a fine, fine show. Are you back, Harry? You must not be back with us yet. If you want to really, I mean, get your feet tapping, your fingers snapping, your head bobbing, and your booty shaking, you need to tune in to the Swinging Sixties Show by Mr. Harry B. Go to Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker.com. Spreaker, Spreaker.com. And just go up there in that little search box and type in there either Harry Burke or the Swinging Sixties Show, and it'll pop right up and you'll be there. And the amazing thing is, the wonderful thing is, that if you can't catch them live, you can catch them anytime, because you can go there and listen to the show over and over and over again. How we doing, Harry? We're still waiting for Harry. Okay. It's wonderful. While we're waiting for Harry to get readjusted, although I don't think Harry can ever get readjusted. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, while we're waiting for Harry to get readjusted here, let me remind you that tomorrow night, Mr. Neil Haley from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I call him the Crazy Total Tutor, will be here with us. He'll blow in like a tornado, he'll leave just as fast, and we'll stand here and we'll wonder what in the world he was saying. But anyhow, he'll be with us. And then right after Neil leaves, we'll be speaking to a lady that wrote a book entitled We Also Serve. Her husband was a Vietnam vet in the Marine Corps. Her son was in the Marine Corps, and he served in Iraq. She wrote a book talking about what it's like for the family of men that are serving overseas in a combat zone. And Nanette, I can't say her last name right. She's going to have to help me tomorrow night, but she'll be with us, so don't forget that. Harry, how are we doing, buddy? Okay, we're still waiting for Harry. Harry had a technical difficulty. Monday night, that's March 4th, we will have a man here by the name of, well, let's see, I just lost Harry here for a second. I'll be right.
Up to about 10 years after the famine, which is around 1845. So for 10 years, there was a concentration from the docks here in Derry by the river. The River Foyle runs through the city. It goes out to a place called Lough Foyle, and eventually, about 20 miles downstream, it enters the Atlantic Ocean, where literally you turn left and you head off to America. Now, these boats would take 3 months, 2 to 3 months to arrive in your fair country, and lots of people along the way would have died on those boats because a mother, a family consisting of a man, a woman, and possibly 2 or 3 kids, and there was livestock on those boats. There was cramped conditions. It wasn't like a boat you would imagine today and a luxury liner. It was far from it. It was kind of third, fourth class, and they had to pay up front. I don't know what the money was involved, but a boat or 2 or 3 boats would leave each month by 2 or 3 different local shipping companies, and they would head off to the likes of Australia, to America. But America was the popular destination because if you look at the map of Ireland and you look to the left of the map, you've got the Atlantic Ocean and eventually the big US of A. So a lot of people went to the North America, and certainly people from our city here went and they founded, I believe they founded in New Hampshire, England, Londonderry, which a lot of people over there still call Derry. Some people call it Londonderry, and they have the same problems as we have in our city, naming a city. So we've exported the argument over to America. But having said that, Derry has come on leaps and bounds, obviously, from those particular times. And throughout the 20th century, you still have that issue with the Catholics and Protestants. But personally, people get on with it. And now, in the 1960s, it was a bit of a bad subject. People left home, actually. If you were a Protestant going out with a Catholic girl or vice versa, families didn't take too kindly to that. It was like the Indians and the Sikh and the Hindus. They have a similar class system. And basically, where I'm sitting, my mother was Catholic. My father was Protestant. And for her to turn to be a Protestant was almost unheard of way back in the 40s and 50s. So basically, I was brought up with a family consistent of 5 brothers and 3 sisters. And there was the 2 of us. So to say, my father was a lorry driver, but on those particular times, my mother passed away. She had a kidney infection, and she passed away when I was about 6 years of age. My father didn't remarry, but he brought us all up, and there was no dole, no handouts in those days. If you didn't work, you didn't get any money. Mm-hmm. So basically, in those days, my sister, who was only 13 at the time, going on 14, she left school to look after such a size of a family, going from 6 months old up to my oldest brother at the time, who was 17. Now, if you could picture in those days, George, we lived in what was known as a little whitewashed house, a one-story whitewashed house, similar to the little Irish cottages you see with thatch roofs. But we didn't have a thatch roof. We had a black slate roof, and the rooms consisted of two only rooms, okay? Not two bedrooms, but two only rooms, about 10 foot by 10 foot. And the whole family lived there. 5 to a bed or whatever. We didn't have we didn't have central heating or air conditioning, as you would call it, and no hot water. And the outside tap was about 14 feet up the back garden, as was the toilet. The toilet was up there. There was no bath or whatever. So we grew up to an exceptionally poor standard, but it never done us any harm. We all survived. We were all quite healthy. And okay, the downside was I lost my mother when I was about 6, but my sister, who gave up her schooling just to look after a family of, at that particular time, 10 people, ranging from 6 months to 17, was a big, big undertaking. So where I'm coming from is, and I don't want to sound as if I'm lecturing to the big wide world, is I'm very thankful for anything that comes my way. I have a sense of humor, and I don't let anything get me down. But I'm of the old school. I don't buy anything that I don't need. I don't buy anything on tick, hire purchase or whatever. If I haven't got the money, I won't pay for it. But that makes me a happy bunny at the end of the day, because I see the world out there and everybody's living in the fast lane. Uh-huh. So I've got a lot of background that kind of stabilized me. And thank God I've got a humor, because if I didn't have the humor, I wouldn't have got through it, you know.
Ain't that the truth? You mentioned that word stabilized. We're talking about physically stabilized, not mentally, right, Harry? I mean,
no. My mental case went down over the years until till the insanity which is now, you know. But no, I think it's got to start with a sense of humor, and if you're in a kind of a comfort zone that you're surrounded with people in a kind of a like sense, you can drift into an insanity, but it's a kind of a good insanity, if you know what I mean. It's not a depressive insanity. It's a kind of a happy insanity.
I understand completely. That word insanity, that on our end, that word insanity is the norm.
Yeah. If
you're sane, those sane people scare me to death.
No, we don't need too much sanity, because sanity is kind of it's too clean and clinical for me. I would rather be at the other side of the fence, looking from the inside of the mental hospital and not from the other end.
Oh my! Ladies and gentlemen, I have my good friend, Mr. Harry B., as we call him, all the way from over there in Ireland, who produces and hosts the show entitled The Swinging Sixties. Harry, how long you been doing this show?
I guess it's probably about 18 months, I would say. It seems quite a long time, and in many ways, I guess it is. But I do it because really it's first and foremost a good hobby, George. And secondly, I'm playing music that I particularly would like. So it's a case of no different from turning on the hi-fi and listening to some music. Instead, it's a kind of an added bonus. You're out there, and a few people might come into the chat room. You have a bit of a laugh and a joke or whatever, and you're still listening to the music that you would normally have played anyway. So it kind of adds to it all.
Do you, when you do the Swinging Sixties show, now you're not on every night at 9 p.m. your time, right?
Yeah.
Which makes it 4 p.m. our time here on the East Coast, 1 p.m. on the West Coast.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead.
We don't have those zones over here, George. You see, we're very civilized over here. When we, 9 o'clock to us is 9 o'clock. But Ireland, of course, is Ireland, of course, as we stand today, only consists of the total of Ireland population is only about 6 million people. Here in the north of Ireland, which some people in America and across the world, sorry to kind of detract here, people across the world think Ireland is a complete country. The northern part, which is Northern Ireland, comes under the UK banner. So Northern Ireland is part of UK. But because the UK and Ireland is such a small place, we don't have any particular zones. So when I say 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock is for the rest of the UK as well, you know.
So it's 9 o'clock your time, 4 p.m. our time, Eastern Daylight Time on the coast here.
Yeah.
1 p.m. over there in California. So in between time, it's like an hour and another 2 hours. So everybody gets that. You put on a show, Harry, and I've noticed, I don't know, as long as I've been listening to you, I always like the part where you always say, no jingles. Tell us exactly what that means.
Say that again, George, I lost you.
You say about no jingles.
Well, I say more than that. I say more, no jingles, no script, no ideas. And I'll be honest with you, George, I don't put a lot of effort into it. I have a playlist of records which I can throw up in about 3 minutes, and I just output, and I don't spend too much time making it a chore, because if it became a chore, I possibly wouldn't do it. When I first started, there was a guy in America, and he had a network of radio companies or radio people, and he invited me to join him under his banner, and I was pumped in on a daily basis with jingles non-stop, and I could hardly get my own word in there. So after a little while, I decided to pull out from there, and because I pulled out for it, I made a conscious decision is that I would rather just play music, chat in between, and not be kind of taken away to the fact that I was trying to be more professional than I was, because a lot of young people, and I'm not putting them down for this, a lot of young people come on to the radio and they do their own shows, and there are good shows and there are bad shows, of course, but they play jingles literally every 5 minutes in an effort, if you like, in my opinion, to make themselves maybe sound very professional, but it detracts somewhat between what you really wanted to do in the first place. And what I really wanted to do in the first place was just to play records, meet a few people that I wouldn't normally speak to, and have the insanity of the chat room where I could kind of, come down on people and they slag me off, and I stand up and give a bit back, and that all adds to the fun of it.
When you do your show, do you use a thing called what's it called? Sam something. What is it? Sam Broadcaster or whatever it is.
It's the only way to go, George, because on that particular radio that we all do comes out of a company called Spreaker, who basically are an Italian company, and they have an Italian server, etc. And they do. It was a fine example of how things were going in the radio world, and it allowed anybody and everybody to have a show and be able to broadcast. They do themselves have a console, which means that you load music, etc., up there when you want it. So if you were outputting it, say 9 o'clock, you would spend an hour or two beforehand putting up or uploading 20 or 30 songs, and this would take you forever and a day. Along came Sam Broadcaster, and if you configure it properly, Sam Broadcaster then, if you like, takes over the Spreaker. So basically, you're working with Sam Broadcaster, all your music's that's in your computers, and basically you throw up at a millisecond, you're able to throw on screen a particular song that you would have. So let's say, for instance, somebody came into the chat room and said, I wouldn't mind hearing Elvis Presley saying, "All Shook Up." I could literally play that because I've got something like 40 or 50,000 records on my computer. I could play that song within 5 seconds. Do you follow me? But I couldn't do it the other way. The other way is kind of old hat. You mentioned earlier about the technical side of things and the improvement, the way things are. The improvements is such that if you got, like I have, a good stock of records, incidentally, which I purchased long time ago, and burn them onto MP3, and you have a stock of records on your computer, it adds to the fact that if anybody wants a record, you can output it. I know there's laws in US of A. I think you're not allowed to output a record within 15 minutes or so, but we don't have that law over here, so I just do my own thing. So where somebody would say, can you play a record by Gene Vincent? On the old system of Spreaker, I would literally have to spend 20 minutes perhaps uploading that to their system. Whereas my system, as it stands, instantly plays what I want to play. Do you follow me?
Gotcha.
So that's it. So it adds to the enjoyment. And the reason why possibly I'm on more regular than other people, it doesn't take up too much effort and too many mind games for me to go on air. For instance, if I wanted to do a show 4 hours earlier, I could literally, the passion of it is such that if I felt in the mood, I could switch my computer on, load my playlist up, which would take me, choose a few records, possibly 5-10 minutes. I press a few buttons and I'm out there live to the big wide world. But if it was so much of a hassle, I wouldn't do it at all, George, to be honest. It's because it's so easy and it's the way of the future. And hey, bring it on if it's easy to do. Hey, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Terrestrial radio, years ago, and I guess that's why this technology amazes me so much. Years ago, you'd be in the studio, and you'd have the engineer guy, or you'd be running the board, and blah 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 blah. And if you went on the radio, you would have to queue up the reel-to-reel tapes and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think the future for terrestrial radio is?
It's not going anywhere, to be honest, George. I think it's dead. I get involved over here. It's a side issue, but I'm not getting away from it. I'm involved over here with working some months of the year with a film festival over here, and people would come and they wouldn't have a background. They would be an actor or they would be something else, but they wouldn't have a background in radio particular. But when they say to me, well, what do you do to get your kicks, Harry? I say, well, funny enough, I have a little show which I broadcast every night at 9 o'clock or whatever. And they're kind of dumbfounded because they don't understand the concept until I tell them. And they would say, well, that must be the future. Because the truth, what happens is there's thousands and thousands and thousands of terrestrial type radio stations. But at the end of the day, because it's a hobby, what we're doing is a hobby, people will cling on to new ideas and new hobbies. And I think the only thing it'll survive possibly is local radio, where they're given weather forecasts, local accidents, local people, etc., because I think there'll always be a need for that type of thing. But going into your bigger channels, I think people find other ways to entertain themselves.
I know in our area, there's a lot of radio stations that if you go by, or even decide to stop and go to the door is locked. There is no human being on the inside of that building. The corporations have bought them up, and it's all computerized, and it's playing through this and through that, and so on and so forth. Where it used to be that someone would walk through the door and they'd see a DJ or they'd see somebody at a desk and so on and so forth. But them days are all gone.
Sure.
When people talk about radio on the internet, and it's growing in leaps and bounds, everybody, their aunts and uncles and grandmas and grandpas, anybody, anywhere with an internet hookup, a computer, can be on the air in a matter of seconds.
That's it.
Some of it's good, some of it's not so good. For the most part, I think it's good. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I go along with that. I think a lot. I'm smiling as I said because I possibly wouldn't do it, George, if it wasn't for the chat room. The chat room is a kind of a must-have situation. If it was just a case of coming on and playing records, I think the secret is that there's thousands and thousands of shows out there that just play top 40 records. To add a chat room where you're kind of intermingling with the chat people and you're bringing it alive. It's like the old-time radio where you could close your eyes and hear radio play or whatever, and people would kind of dream pictures and the storyline would come through. And I think if you go back 20, 30, 40 years ago when types of plays and drama were on the radio, actually it was much better than even watching the telly or the television because you use your own imagination, who the characters were and what have you. So to bring it up to where we're talking about regarding the outputting of a radio station, to me, I think the chat room is much the same. I'm talking over the people that talking to me in the chat room, and I'm telling the big wide world that Johnny's mentioned this and James has said that and what have you. And you're really painting pictures in the mind of listeners. And at the end of the day, I think that's what listeners want. They just wouldn't tune into you if you were doing the top 40 records, because everybody would do the top 40 records. You just got to be a slightly different angle to get a few extra listeners. Do you follow?
I got you. In your chat room, it becomes hilarious at times, but the Espinlobs here, when Harry comes on, during the week it's kind of rough to catch you at 4:00, but Saturdays and Sundays when we tune in, some of the kids usually stop by, the grandkids, but we'll tune in about 4:00, and when you play the music, I know we exaggerate somewhat, and we tell you that we're dancing on the ceiling, or we're dancing on the table, or we're out on the deck dancing on the banisters.
Don't disappoint me, George, because I thought that's what you'd done.
But we are dancing. I mean, we're tapping our feet, snapping our fingers, bobbing our head, and shaking our booties, and we're enjoying the music.
That's good.
And you become so popular in our household that people come in and say, "Are you listening to Harry? Is Harry coming on? What time's Harry on?" So you're becoming an Espinlob household name around here, Harry.
Oh, I'll be signing photographs soon and sending them over to you.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will.
I won't let that get to my head, but I'll take it as a good compliment. Now, thank you for it, George.
Oh, it is a compliment. We have a ball when you're on, and some of the gang that comes into the chat room, you know, once somebody gets something started, then it just builds and builds and builds and builds, and then of course the host he just puts the big building blocks in there too and keeps it going. I think that's interesting. Yeah,
I've actually. Well, I haven't banned them completely, but there's a lot of young people come into my show, and I say, look, from the outset, now behave, act like an adult, and don't use cell speak in my chat room. You know the mobile cell where they use the short abbreviations? I ban them. I said, the only reason you get into my chat room if you use proper English, there's words to a sentence, and it's interesting. So I'm getting an attitude problem in my old age. I'm starting to swing the rod as you would when you were at school, you know. So I don't have anybody coming in messing around and cursing and swearing. I just say to them, look, there's lots of people out there that you could go out and listen to if you want to, but I'm trying to keep a lively conversation and make it jokey because it's interesting. That's what we all want to listen to and broadcast out to, you know.
And I would suggest, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, and countrymen, that you tune in to Mr. Harry B. every night, every evening here, 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 9 p.m. in Harry's neck of the woods, 1 p.m. out there in California for the Swinging Sixties Show. I mention your show quite often, Harry, and tell people to go over there and listen to Harry play his tunes and some of the things that's going on. So I'm giving you lots of advertisement my friend.
Oh, okay. The check is in the post.
Okay, that's what the other guy said last week. No, I'm only.
Yeah,
I'm only.
my nose just got a bit bigger there, George, when I said that.
This film thing that you're involved in, and what is it? City of Culture.
Oh, the film thing was over 10 years, which is a separate thing.
Mm-hmm.
I could talk about that, or I could talk about. I may have given you earlier the bad impression of my city, and I always come on and I always say it's the greatest city in the world. And I believe that to be so because over 30 years, from the 68 to about 15 years ago, there's lots of problems here in the north of Northern Ireland due to IRA bombings and killings and what have you. It was a terrible situation, and there was people getting murdered and killed. And thankfully, over time, that has there's a change of government. People have got their acts together. They're talking to each other. And for the last 5 or 10 years, certainly, it's come a normal place, as normal places can be. There's a few dissident Republicans still out there causing a bit of mayhem. But put that aside for 1 minute. There's two things you can talk about: is my involvement in the film festival, which is not a great thing, or the thing is this year. This year being 2013, Londonderry was named a couple of years ago, but it was named as the City of Culture for UK 2013, which is this year. So literally there's every day of the week and every week of the month and every month of the year up to December, there's always and will be fascinating things on. It could be drama, it could be music, it could be all sorts of entertainment facilities, music for young people. It's endless. So we have the grand, because we have a culture that goes way back to the 6th century, and because there's lots of interesting people generally that came out of our city. It was awarded this as, it was a competition in actual fact. It was thrown out. The government in the UK decided to spend some money and name a UK City of Culture. Proper bids went in from 20 or 30 different cities around UK, and we come out on top. We were the ones, and they made the decision on a record time of about 2 minutes, and they decided to give the award to Londonderry, because it was such an interesting cultural city. So that's what's happening this year. On the previous question you asked me, George, was what is my involvement in the film festival? Well, the film festival, I'm trying to condense it down for you. Film festival over here is what's called the Foyle Film Festival. It's been going now 21, 22 years, but I've been involved for the last 10 doing various tasks. Now, I say that for a reason, because if you don't know anything about film festivals and how they're run, you can have big film festivals and you can have small film festivals. But the bottom line is anybody that works in a film festival literally does everything and anything, whether he's the top guy, the small guy, they help out. We do everything bar cleaning out the toilet. Do you follow me? Mm-hmm. So to make it successful. So to answer your question, what do I do? Over the years, I've done different tasks there. There was a few years where I did what was known as a call for entry. Now, what that meant was we held a festival which literally, on a particular 10 days on November, would show something like possibly 300 or 400 films, short films, feature films, animated films, music films, and we'd have a strand of that where it was a competition. Now, the idea of the competition would be that if you were a filmmaker in Mexico, United States, Norway, Timbuktu, you name it, you would send in to us up to a particular deadline of, say, September, before the film festival ran in November, and you would send us tapes or whatever of films that you want to enter into that competition. We would literally, over time, in a particular year, would see and go through at least 2,000 films before we cut it down to a couple of hundred. Now, the reason why I'm labouring on the point of competition film is that you're aware of the Oscars, and you're aware of the Oscars this week. We are one of the few film festivals that give an accreditation, if you like, for anyone that particular sends in a film to us. We go through a process of different juries that would look at the structures of those particular films. Now, they would come under the heading of, say, Best Irish Short Film, an international short film from wherever in the world, an animation, or a best feature. Now, if those people thought their film was good enough, they would send the film on to us, and we would have a jury of different stages, and eventually we would arrive on the competition side of having a viewing of maybe 6 in each of those categories on the week of the film festival. So the jury of, say, 8 people would pick the winner of the animation, the winner of the best feature, the international short, the Irish short, or whatever. Now, what that allows the winner to do is they then have an opening to forward that on to the Oscars. Now, without sending and using us as a film festival and without winning that particular competition, if they wanted to go through the structures of the Oscars, they would need to go to Los Angeles and show their particular film to maybe 10 different film houses. And it's a lot of hard work, and they would probably be turned down because nobody would know who they are. So the idea of a film festival, and certainly the one that we're operating, is if you're a winner of any of those 4 particular categories, you can go into Los Angeles, skip over all those hurdles, and say, look, I want you to have a look at my film to see if it's Oscar-winning material. Do you follow me?
I got you.
So that's it. So I was involved a couple of years in so much that I sat down on a dark room and I would literally look at 500 of these different categories. A couple of other people would do the same, and I would have an A list and a B list. And if I would look at a short film, for instance, I would give it 10 minutes before it ejected. I would be looking for things like technical things like sound, and if there was a guy there and the refrigerator was blaring out a humming sound, or there was a fan in the room blaring out a fan sound, it wouldn't make good viewing. So lots of little things are overlooked when people make film. So basically, I would chuck them out and say, no, 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 no. But every so often, especially in the documentary ones, they are so well made, so well produced, and sometimes first time ever, a filmmaker would make a film. They could have been doing it for 10 years or just 1 year, but that is the structure of a film festival. Not every film festival, but our particular film festival. The latter years, to finally wrap this one up, the latter years, I said to the film, the festival director, she's a lady called Bernie, and I said, look, Bernie, I need another tag or another title to my name. So because I'm getting older by the day, I don't want to do particular things. And she says, well, Harry, you're usually pretty good with meeting people and greeting people, say, at the airport, and people that fly in from different places. Let's call you, I've nearly forgot what they called me. Guest hospitality, they would call me. Guest hospitality, which actually means basically if somebody comes in from whoever and they're here either to do a workshop or talk to other people about how to make film or how to produce music to a film or absolutely anything from screenwriting workshop or any kind of workshop, and they felt a little bit hungry, I would say to them, hey, I'll meet you down in the hotel and we'll have a bite to eat and a few pints. So for the week of the film festival lasting 10 days, I'm well fed. And sometimes I'm worse for drink.
It's that falling down water, right?
Yeah, the falling down water, and they actually pay me for it. And I joke with them. I says I would nearly do this for nothing.
Oh, Harry, you're a mess, but you're a good mess. You're a good mess. Listen, you tell our friends out there about your about your dog that you take for a walk every evening?
Well, I'll be honest with you. It's come about, and I don't want to be shameful and ignoring people, whatever. But normally, I would play music for maybe an hour and a half, and possibly two. And I always joke that sometime, because of the zones, I get a lot of American listeners, and because of the zones over there, although it's getting to about 10:30 at night or 11, and I'm getting a little bit tired or whatever, I don't want to completely turn them off when they come into the chat room. So it could be 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 5:30, whatever, and they're kind of getting through the early evening and enjoying themselves. So I've said, and I don't know why I brought it up, but basically I said I've got to go now because I do actually go a walk before I go to bed. It's only a short walk of maybe a quarter mile, but it kind of gets me in good mood to have a good night's sleep. So I say to them, I'm sorry, I've got to go a walk and I've got to take my invisible dog. And when they say, well, what about the invisible dog? I say, well, I've got a piece of wire. It's about 5 foot long, and it's got a dog collar on the end of it. And I kind of bend the wire to make it look as if there was a dog on the end of it, but it's not a dog at all. It's invisible. So when I'm walking down the street and the few people pass me in the street, they kind of give me dirty looks as if that man's mad. And I would turn around to them, I'm thinking, you probably think I'm a little bit insane. You're perfectly right, I am. So I'm walking through the estate around about where I live, and I say to them, I said, the dog doesn't poop in the gardens. It's kind of a very kind of eco-friendly dog. So as I walk down the street with the dog collar flapping because I'm kind of tugging at it, I get very strange looks. But the whole purpose of it was to kind of say to the guys in the chat room, look, I've got to walk the dog and I've got to get a good night's sleep, so I'm going to leave you now. Do you follow me? Otherwise, I'll be talking all night to them, you know.
Did you ever give the dog a name, Harry?
No, I've often asked people, give it a name. And as yet, I haven't given it a name because, and I don't. That's a good idea. I'm going to ask them next time I come on. I says, give a name for me. Give me dog, and no doubt I'll get some funny names, and I'll probably go with it. You know,
yeah.
I'll probably say, I'll call it a name.
Yeah, the dog has to have a name.
Yeah, I think so.
And what better place to come from than the people that comes into the chat room? I'm sure you're going to get a variety of names.
Probably, and probably most of them I probably wouldn't be repeating. Yeah.
But out of all them, you might get a good name.
Well, hope so. Yeah, hope so. The madness of Harry's walkabouts, and I would look forward to. I would kind of let the wire go ahead, and I'd tug back, and I would say something, you know, Rex, come back here for crying out. All that house training's come to no good at all. Come back, you bugger.
Harry, you may go for a walk some night and be walking the dog, talking to the dog, and the little truck with the padded room in the back might pull up and take you away somewhere.
Probably. But then again, George, it might be a stepping stone to your particular funny form.
That's true, because we do take transfers from all over the world.
But are you allowed to take dogs there, George?
Sure.
Invisible ones.
You know, I have, well, the people say it's an invisible friend, but I can see my friend. You know what I'm saying? They can't, because they're not believers.
No, you got to be a believer.
Yeah, and I've had what they call an invisible friend since I was like 9 months old, and his name is Jake.
Jake?
Jake.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Jake. Okay.
And he sits on my shoulder, and he carries a monkey wrench with him. and as far as I know, in the 64 years that he's been riding with me, I'm the only one that he's ever beat up alongside the head with that monkey wrench. and he does it to get my attention. Although there's other ways to get my attention, you know. So he usually sits on the right side of my head. So the right side of my head is bigger than the left side because he's always banging on that side. You know what I mean?
Hey, George, I'll be looking forward to going to that funny farm some of these days. I think I could settle in there now. Is there any money involved? Because I don't like paying out.
No. It's absolutely. You're well taken care of, and we don't reach in nobody's pocket.
That's my kind of place.
Yeah, and we're self-sustained here. We have our own Funny Farm EMS and our own Funny Farm Fire and Police Department. We have our own chief psychiatrist here. We have everything. Our own maintenance people. And what happened years ago, when we were all inmates here at this funny farm, we decided that we could do a better job than what those so-called professionals could do.
Uh-huh.
So we rose up against the establishment and threw them out, and then we we sorted through all of our inmates of people that used to do the same jobs of the people we just threw out. And, we found psychiatrists and dentists and we found people from all walks of life, and we just put them in the position, and we have a much better funny farm now.
That's good. My kind of place. Do they cater for, I was talking to one or two guys in the chat room the other night, you've heard of women's menopause. What about man's menopause? Do you cater for the bewilderness of people who get to a certain age and they're wondering about who am I, where am I, what's it all about, all that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah. We found out a long time ago, Harry, when somebody's like that and they're wondering who they are, where they are, what they're doing, so on and so forth. We tell them who they are, what they're doing, where they're at. And we tell them that they are something that will make them excited by being that what we told them. And it works every time.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you never had a public disorderly or people from a government coming to close you down or anything?
Oh no. They stay away, just as far as possible. They just and besides, we live in the place called our world, and we don't know where that is, and we don't really care where that is. All we know is that we live here, and people from all around our world and from the real world come, but the only reason they come is to see what's going on. And many come to the funny farm, but few leave.
Yeah. So they kind of go into a misty environment and they kind of be taken over. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That seems quite normal.
Yeah, they find it so peaceful. There's no phoniness. You are who you are. We accept people for what they are, who they are. And they like that. And people come and just decide to stay.
Is it all men or is it women?
Oh, no, we have men, women. For instance, our one of our chief cooks here is by the name of Brenda Groom. And, of course, the chief psychiatrist is Cindy, the chief psychiatrist. Then we have Dorothy, the doily maker. And, there's tons of women, tons of men. We have animals, the whole 9 yards. And the most unique thing about this is everyone has a voice, including the animals.
So the animals can speak?
Yes. Now they only speak here on the funny farm in our world. If you have to take them out to the real world, then they act like the animal that they are. Cows will moo, and horses will do that thing, and dogs will bark. But when they're here, they have an actual voice.
So you're telling me then, George, that I could possibly bring my invisible dog there, and it might have a voice, because at the moment it doesn't say a lot to me.
Exactly.
But he might come out with a lot of obscenities, and I might be embarrassed.
Well, that's all right, because he'd be all right. We'd get him right. he would adjust, and a lot of the other animals, would kind of take him to the side and school him and advise him and so on and so forth. And Harry, he'd have it down to a science before you knew it.
Because I think personally, my dog is a bad-tempered dog because he doesn't like any sort of control. And sometimes when I'm out walking, he gets very hot under the collar.
I here, Harry, you could turn him loose, and he could.
Would it?
Yeah, he could run. He could run with the other guys and girls. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the problem is, if I let him off me 5-foot wire, it would take me weeks to find him because he's invisible.
Oh no! See, he's invisible, but the other animals here, they can see him.
Ah,
yeah, they can see him. So they would direct him back to you.
So if I was to call out his name and nobody could see him, are you telling me the dogs and the cows and the horses would point at him?
Yes.
From behind the tree.
Right. Wherever he was, they would show you where he was. And besides, if you let him loose and he runs with the other animals, and we call it the gang, if he runs with his little gang around here, when you called him, they'd teach him in such a way that you'd be surprised of how obedient he'd become. And when you called him, eventually, he'd come right back to you.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to finally say something about that. I'm not too sure. My dog, and I shouldn't say it because people might think I'm sort of biased, but my dog is a straight dog, with a 5-foot wire. It's a very straight dog. I'm just thinking, is there any dogs in there that's kind of might be of a different persuasion, shall we say? We might not be straight.
Oh yeah. We have them.
You have gay dogs as well.
Yes. They're here.
So how do you know they're gay? Do they run around and arms around each other or what?
Well, they tell us. After they're here, they shed that what's it called? That shell that everybody hangs behind or hides behind.
Their feminine side.
Yeah. They shed those things, and then everybody is who they are, and that's just the way they are. You know what I mean? So yeah, he'd have no problem. He'd have no problem.
Okay, I'll have a word with it tonight. It doesn't talk to me at times. Sometimes I can go through weeks of talking to it, and I give him the best room in the house. I've got 4 bedrooms here, and I put him in the best bedroom, and sometimes he never speaks to me at all. The only time he speaks to me is when he wants to go a walk, and that's usually about 10:30 when I finish my show.
Well, if you had him in this atmosphere, you'd see a big difference.
That would be good. I would like someone to kind of give him a good smack now and again, just to kind of make him appreciate what he's got.
That's true too. Yeah, we have smackers here. If somebody needs smacked around now and then, we've got some smackers here. We call them. When we're talking among ourselves, they're smackers. But when we're talking, in public places, we call them adjusters. They're adjusters. Yeah.
Because smackers over here tends to kind of lend itself to kind of using drugs and what have you. Is that the same over there? So if my dog was a smacker, he would be on some sort of cannabis.
No, the smackers in the real world, they're having the problems with the drugs, but the smackers here on the funny farm, they're literally smackers.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm going to try and sit it down tonight, maybe in the corner of the bedroom, and have one of those kind of manly chats that you can do with your son sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I'll just say, look, are you in the mood for a chat? I think it's about time now we had a bit of chat about the birds and the bees and the smackers and George Espinlov's funny farm. Are you up for it? And hopefully I'll be able to get through to him.
I think you will. I think you will. And maybe that's what he needs. He needs a change of scenery or something.
He plays. To be honest, he's got his own the old-fashioned record player in his bedroom, and he constantly plays that song, which is well known over the years, but it's doing my head in, George. I don't know if you could suggest something. There was a record called "How Much Is That Dog in the Window," and he constantly plays it 24/7.
Huh?
Can you remember the song?
Yeah. How much is that doggy in the window? The one with the
Waggly tail.
Waggly tail. How much is that doggy in the window? I do want that that doggy for sale or whatever it is. Yeah. So that's good. He has them, and we have people here that plays their music over and over and over again. And what we do is we issue them earplugs or ear.
Okay.
Yeah, you plug it into the little thingy on the listening device and then stick it in your ear. Yeah, and then that you see people walking around the grounds all the time with them things sticking in their ears, listening to their songs over and over and over and over again. Yeah.
So I think there's a few things I'll have to I don't want to bring them into the funny farm and not be dog trained, you see. Mm-hmm. So I might take him to one of those hypnotherapists because they could maybe take him back to a time when he didn't have that problem.
Harry, if it's the last thing I do, I'm going to find out who writes this stuff.
That's good, George. I enjoyed my time with you tonight.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, listen to me. Do yourself a favor. Tune in to the Swinging Sixties Show on Spreaker.com and listen to Mr. Harry B. You'll get the best music this side of heaven. Of course, I've never been to heaven, so I don't know what they're playing over there. But it can't be any better than what Harry B's playing down here. So you guys get in there. Go to Spreaker.com. Up there in that little search box, just type in there, the Swinging Sixties Show. And by the time you're done typing, Harry B had already popped up. Just click on it and you go there. Every night, 9 p.m. his time, 4 p.m. our time here on the East Coast, 1 p.m. on the West Coast, and you guys in the middle, you can figure that out. There's 1 and 2 hours difference between there. So tune in to Mr. Harry Burke, the Swinging 60 Show. You will be so glad that you did. Harry, my friend, thank you so much for being with me tonight. I enjoyed it, and you're going to go on the air in let's see, about an hour and a half. Yeah,
I'll make it a short show. I think I'm going to bring out that doggy in the window song, George, just for badness, to see what kind of reaction I get from the woof woof.
Oh, Harry, listen, my friend, we're going to have to do this again, and I wish you the best. Keep on playing them tunes, and just keep on being Harry, because you are a delightful individual. And I'm glad, Harry, that I can call you a friend.
Same here. Likewise, George. I enjoyed your company very much, and I sent it all back to you. Yeah, you're a good man, very funny, and give my regards to the long-suffering wife, Nancy.
I will do that, sir. I will do that. Thank you, Harry.
Yeah, bye-bye and good night, George.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Just one wish, tell me the truth now. Would you be a little selfish? It's a hot ride, no one's around now. If that wish were mine, world peace would have to wait, you know. After all, I'm just a impossibly beautiful. While I'm driving, strikes me funny all the while. Years of building my backbone, blown apart by a smile. But what would you say told you when we're alone, it feels like Emily Hayes on my car stereo. It strikes me funny all the while. Years of building my backbone, blown apart by your smile. What would you say if I told you when we're alone, it feels like I'm away on my car stereo. How you paint pictures in my mind when I clown and tease you. Your look of shock gets me perfectly high. You won't see it coming, but you won't really be surprised. One of these times, gonna kiss you deeply neath the new moon sky. Oh, when I'm driving, it strikes me funny all the while. Years of building the backbone, blown apart by your smile. What would you say if I told you when we're alone, it feels like I'm away on my car stereo.
I think a lot of that cheer is not only for the music, it's for Mr. Harry B. Harry, you did a fantastic job, my friend, and I appreciate so very much for you being here with me tonight. That was a blast. And ladies and gentlemen, listen to the Swinging Sixties. Spreaker.com. Spreaker. S-P-R. Spreaker.com. And go in there and just type in the little search box, the Swinging Sixties, and Harry's show will come up. He's live every night, 9 p.m. his time, 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and 1 Pacific Standard Time, and Mountain, and whatever the other one is, Central. There's an hour and 2 hours difference, so you guys figure that out. But tune in to the Swinging Sixties Show, Mr. Harry B. You will be glad that you did. Look, he's like this all the time. I'm just saying, he's like this all the time. He's a lot of fun.
so I stayed at home. I look outside and the moon is high. I'm suddenly wishing that so was I. Well, I drank down all my whiskey. I could use a little more, just a little more, a little more, a little more, a little more. Every time that I'm looking to score, devil come knocking at my front door. The devil is knocking. The devil is knocking. The devil is knocking. Sitting in my rocking chair, sweat rolls down my chin. I could hear the devil laughing, but I'm afraid to let him in. When I drink down all my bourbon, and too much is never enough, never enough, never enough, it's never enough, never enough, never enough. Every time that I'm looking to score, devil come knocking at my front door. The devil is knocking. The devil is knocking. The devil is knocking. Way past midnight, crawling across the floor, calling out the devil's name, headed to the door. Well, I drank down all my wine and gin, and I ain't got no more, ain't got no more, ain't got no more, no more, no more. Time that I'm looking to score, devil come knocking at my front door. The devil is knocking. The devil is knocking. The devil is knocking.
The devil is knocking. Texarillo. I want to say thank you to our friends down there at Music Alley, musicalley.com. That's where Charlie goes and brings the music back. And he brings it back and we play it. And we are delighted that musicalley.com allows us to do so. And we appreciate it so very, very much. That's a lot of varies, but we appreciate it very much. Wow. Listen, tomorrow night, the Crazy Total Tutor will be here first. And then Nanette will be here. I'm not even going to try to say the last name until I find out exactly what it is. Nanette will be here. Go to wealsoserve.net. Wealsoserve.net. She has written a book with the same title. Her website is wealsoserve.net, and you can read all about it. She will be with us tomorrow night after the Total Tutor leaves. Then she's coming. So we're going to have two guests tomorrow night. Saturday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Unshackled. Again, Sunday morning, 7 a.m., another Unshackled. These are true life stories of real individuals, and they are dramatized. so you can sit and listen as these stories are played out over the radio. That's Saturday night, 6:30, and again Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Monday night, mark this on your calendar, Mr. Kenzel Evans will be with us. And he has written a book, Breaking the Silence. That's what it is, Breaking the Silence. A man that was convicted of a crime that he didn't commit and spent over a decade in the prison system. He was sentenced to 2 life sentences plus 15 years, which means he would never see the outside world again. He's going to be with us on Monday night to tell us his story, Breaking the Silence. Mr. Kenzel Evans will be with us. So mark that down, Monday night, March 4th, 6:30 p.m. Well, guys and girls and ladies and gentlemen and kids and friends, Romans, countrymen, whoever else is listening. Hey, listen, thanks for hanging with me, okay? For all you that have been hanging with me, for you that are hanging with me, and for you that are going to hang with me later, I really appreciate it. If it's nighttime where you're at, you have a great night. If it's already daytime, then you go ahead and have yourself a great day. But regardless of what it is and where you are, till tomorrow night, same time, same station, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, right here on the Spreaker Network. Come back for another George Espinlove show. Great guests, great music, and God only knows what else is going to happen. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, stay safe. And God bless you really good.